Check.
Check, check, 1, 2.
Yeah, I think we got it. I think we got it. All right. So we were gonna do it, and then we weren't, and then now we are again. Um, and we're gonna cover two different questions that I saw. One from OnlyTix, one from okay, OnlyTix. Where did we stop?
Um, Let me see. You were saying, yeah, so the goal was I have like a color bar or an alert condition in my Sierra chart that lights up green or red.
Hmm.
And I essentially also have like basically a hello world Discord bot that when you run the Python script, it sends a hard-coded hello world message to a Discord server, a given channel in the Discord server, like hello, I'm a Discord bot. And I want to essentially hook up that Sierra chart signal to the Discord bot asynchronously. And connecting those two worlds, I'm pretty much clueless about. And if you want, I can provide you like the Hello World code that I wrote for the Discord bot, if that would be helpful or not.
Okay, so this is the basic principle of, or the basic setup of what you're trying to do. Down here in the middle is the internet. Uh, Separating these two. These two are not connected in any way. So in ACSIL, they expose two different ways to make HTTP calls. The first one, it's like being able to place a get call, and the second one is being able to place a post call. So the first step is figuring out this listener on your Discord bot. What is it listening for? Is it listening for HTTP requests? If yes, then which HTTP method? Because there's several. There's get, post, put, delete, and there's like a bunch of other ones that are less commonly used. But you
Mhm.
need to know what this is expecting, because if this is expecting a post and you send a get to this, it will probably toss it and not consume this. If it's expecting a get and you send a post, it's probably going to toss it and not consume it. Um, the difference between these, just as a quick um, primer for those who aren't familiar, get calls typically are without a payload. So you are typically just hitting an endpoint. You can attach something called query parameters to it, where you can pass like small tidbits of information. Post is what you would use if you're submitting a form or larger pieces of data, or doing like a file upload. All those types of larger, heavier lifting type of operations will require a post where you can actually attach a more complex payload. With a get, you can't really do as complex of payloads as you can with a post. So, do we know what the Discord bot is listening for?
At the moment, it's not listening for anything. It's just a Python script that gets executed when you just run the .python.
Wait, I
But
thought that Python script was here. I thought that was a third thing. Your Python script I thought was here, and it was making this call.
oh no, the Discord bot is the Python script. Um,
Oh, okay. So
yeah.
I have this drawn incorrectly. So so it's not actually on the Discord bot is not sitting on Discord. This is your Python script, and it is reaching out to Discord whenever you execute it and
Hmm.
posting that message. Okay, got it.
Hmm.
And
And
so
and
your
that's
Python,
probably undesirable because that's not async. It's not an async call. Like it's me just manually running it.
right, okay. So is the Python script you're running on the same box as Sierra chart?
Yes.
Okay, that changes a couple different things in terms of what we could do. That line goes away because these are actually all connected. Um, if anything, that line, oh, let's go back over here. If anything, that line would end up being right there rather than between these two because these two are on the same machine, essentially. Same machine. Um, okay, so maybe you don't need to make an HTTP call to your Python script or at all from Sierra from ACSIL because your Python script is the one that is um, doing this call. So your options become either skip this step entirely and implement this logic in here, so that your ACSIL is calling Discord directly and you remove this middleman, or have Sierra chart when the condition becomes true call. You have Python installed on your local machine, right? So you could
Mhm.
potentially place a call to your local machine to execute your Python script. So you could do something like um, uh, local machine execute py my script dot py anytime that condition becomes truthy, which will then trigger
Mhm.
this to go, which will then trigger this, and then
Nice. Okay.
so that might be the easiest way to go about this because you already have this written. This mechanism would require you to make pretty much no changes to your Python script. All you'd have to do is in Sierra chart when you have that alert become truthy, you would have to look up the call for how to execute a local Python script, like run a command locally on your machine, and it's C++, so you can do pretty much anything. So I don't actually know what the direct command is for doing that, but I'm sure a Google search away will find it. So
Hey,
How
um,
would
Fuzzy.
I pass the
Just want to say
information?
hi, dude.
sorry, there's multiple.
No, I just want to say hi. I'm gonna head out, but
Oh,
just
hey,
want to say hi.
hey,
Hey,
hi,
all right, later, guys. Bye.
bye.
Quick
We're
question.
yeah.
How would I pass the information from Sierra chart to my Python script? So, for example, like on my Sierra chart, I may want to pass like time, price, and whatever dynamic message to the Python script to
Mhm.
get sent to Discord.
Yeah, so um, right now I'm not a Python expert, but I believe you can pass arguments to the command line in Python. So what are the different variables you're looking to pass? Let's just make a list of them. Time,
Uh, Time and price,
price,
and and let's probably keep it just those two for simplistic purposes.
sure, sure.
I haven't fully thought the rest through.
So you should be able to pass argument 1, argument 2, and argument n, up to argument n. I suppose I should put
Mhm.
a this arrow is getting really all sorts of funky, but whatever. So what you could do is inside your Python script, I'm sure there's a way in Python to detect arguments passed into the script at the command line, which is what you'll be executing this Python script from within the context of Sierra. So within your script, I mean, typically in most languages, it's like argv or argc or something like what are your command line args? So you should be able to get a list of command line arguments from Python at the top of your Python script of whatever was passed in. Now from the Sierra side, you just need to prep that. So your time and price need to be basically convert it into strings. Right now, time is probably in C are going to be an SC date time object, and price is going to be most likely a float primitive type, like a decimal point. So you will want to use like an SC string, my command line, and say something like my command line dot format is going to be Python of my script.py, and then here you're going to put time, which is an SC date time. So however you want to describe that, you could convert it into your own timestamp. You could, there's a bunch of different functions on the SC date time object where you can represent time in different formats. So it depends on how you need to pass that in to Discord. If you need to pass it in as a string, you could convert this into a human legible string and pass it in, whatever you need to do. So basically, if you wanted to do it as a string, you could pass it in like that, and then price as a float, you'll go probably like something like that to limit it to 2 decimal points, and then put, time, and then price, and then whatever that command is to execute in C on the script on the command line. And so what that will do is that price will get sent to this, or time will get sent to this, price will get sent to this, and then inside your Python script, the first thing you're going to do is say, hey, what arguments got passed in? Oh, price equal or time equals this, and price equals that, and then you can go ahead and put that into your call that you make over to the Discord side.
Okay. And that my CMD line dot format, that's like and
that's the
built in.
This is just an SC string. So this is the variable name for the string that you need to create in order to execute your command to call your Python script from within inside of ACSIL itself. So this can be named pretty much anything. I mean, you can call it banana if you want, but basically it's my it's a command line string to execute your Python, and then this would be command line string if you changed it to that variable.
Mm-hmm. So my question there is, how is the ACSIL script like opening up my box's command line? If that's just a string.
Let's take a look. C++ execute command line. How can I execute a command line? Looks like it's pretty simple. There's a command called system. So you'd say something like system, and then you'd say command line string dot get characters, and that's it. So you format your command in here. This is your command right here. This will translate once you finish this. This will translate to something like my script, and then if you take your time variable and you make it 2023:05:19 11:22 a.m. or whatever format you end up deciding on, and then what is the ES trading at right now? 4,140.20. I don't know. Whatever. This string, after it finishes getting formatted by your command here, it'll be the equivalent of this, which is what you're going to pass in right here to the system call in in ACSIL. So by doing that, you're going to say, hey, underlying system, execute python myscript.py. I mean, if this is in some other directory, you're going to need to point to it, right? So path to this script / my script, right? That's logical. And then arg1 is there, arg2 is there.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I was definitely not going about like that design. I was I was definitely going the more complicated route, which is, I guess, what I don't want in the short term, which was
Trying to go
okay,
directly to here from here.
yeah, it was like, okay, my Python script needs to be like on some AWS server to be run asynchronously, so my computer doesn't have to be on all the time, and then my Sierra chart needs to hit a webhook or needs to hit that AWS server to execute that script.
I mean, you'll still need Sierra running at the time you want that thing to push. So,
True.
like
Yeah.
without Sierra running, it's not going to generate the signal to execute that script. But with the script being on the same machine as Sierra, and you having access to pretty much anything you want to do in C, hold on a second, then what you should be able to do is something like this. So your Python script, you learn. I'm not a Python expert, so I don't know how to listen to command line arguments. But we could do a Google search and say Python uh, command line
Yeah, I
args.
configured that part. I think I've done that before. That
Command
should be
line
straightforward.
args. So if you have, okay, so basically in Python, it looks like you do something like import system, and then it's sys.argv. That's it. It is argv. Um, that gives you the list of arguments, and then if you looped through those or you access them, argv0 is going to be probably this one, and argv1 is going to be this one, right? This is going to be the first one, and that'll be the second one, but they're zero index based probably. So there you go. That's how you do it. Sys argv is how you get
Nice.
your command line args in Python.
Yeah. Okay. And then with the ACSIL portion, I would essentially need to use an ACSIL function that references, or not necessarily a function, but I need to reference my charts, study, alert bar, or color bar on alert condition, and then essentially when that value, when that subgraph equals true or green or whatever color.
Whatever you're setting, right, you determine what the
Mhm.
truthy condition is that you want to trigger this whole mechanism. So if it's when you add to a subgraph or when some condition becomes true in an if statement or whatever the conditional is pretty trivial. Whenever that happens is when you're going to say, hey, build this string and execute that string.
Mhm. Okay. Chart. Okay, I'll have to look up how to reference the chart and study name, but I'm sure that's straightforward and simple. Okay,
Yeah,
that makes
there's a
sense.
lot of examples out there for that stuff, so
Perfect.
that should get you on your
Awesome,
way.
dude. Yeah, dude, thank you so much. Yeah, like I was definitely going about it a much more complicated way. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, shifting gears. Uh, let's see. No skill Thrilla. You are here. Okay, you are here.
Yep,
Great.
I am here.
Let's go ahead and pull up. Actually, let me clear my throat one sec. I apparently just love having my coffee be like motor oil thick, and it's just always. But you gotta wake up somehow. Okay, so um, what do you have here? You posted this, and
Yeah.
you posted this. Oh, geez. Let's try to do that. Oh, geez. I don't. I want that in it. You know what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna just screenshot it. I'm gonna screenshot it instead of trying to copy it. Boom. Okay. So the question is, using a zigzag indicator, hold the last pivot low as a persistent variable that can be used for a crossover alert, and conversely hold the last pivot high as a persistent variable that can be used for a crossover alert, and the issues that arise when price is around the crossover levels update before the crossover occurs, and this introduces an undesirable delay where the crossover is confirmed after the fact. So I read that, but I don't think I understand what you're asking, nor am I familiar with the zigzag indicator. I don't think I've ever used it, although I've heard people talk about it left and
Yeah,
right.
so
Can you explain
it
what's
just,
going on?
yeah, so basically the zigzag indicator um, has a reversal percentage where once price reverses a certain percentage, then the pivot high or low is confirmed. And so, if you're looking at the picture I have, so every pivot there is like a minimum percentage of the of a price change that determines that pivot. Now, uh, and as you can imagine, when the pivot, when the price has not already changed that minimum percentage reversal, the zigzag is still undetermined. Um, and so if you're trying to hold, so I did all of this in the studies part of Sierra chart, not in ACSIL. I tried in ACSIL and it just didn't work. So I gave up on it, but I have it in the studies. But the problem I have always is that when I use you can use a persistent variable, and even in the studies, use an if statement that says, hold the last pivot high until new pivot high is confirmed. And so, for example, if you're at, so when B is confirmed, that means the price moved away from that B point a certain percentage. Then we know that B is a pivot high. Now, when I come back and I make a pivot low and I come back up, I want a line there where L is, that horizontal line. Yeah, that does not change. And I cannot get Sierra to not update that line when price gets close to B on the second attempt. And I need that line constant until price breaks and closes above it. Then the zigzag, then the line can move. So if you can imagine what you would really see is like I don't know if you're familiar with the Don Chain channel,
Mm-mm.
where okay, so think of it like connecting every high. So you're constant. So every pivot high, draw a horizontal line, right? And then when a new pivot high is confirmed, that means price reversed a certain percentage away from it. Then you drop that horizontal line, and you have a horizontal line uh, uh, at the new pivot. So every time you make a new pivot, the line or the level changes to that new pivot.
Who's drawing this line? Is this zigzag study drawing this line?
So the zigzag study can draw this line, but it's called a reversal price. But the way I'm doing it is I'm holding it in a in the study subgraph with an if statement that says, "Hey, uh, don't change that horizontal line until the new pivot high is formed."
So you have your own custom study that is referencing the zigzag study. Is that correct?
Yeah, I have not a custom study, not an actual study,
Oh,
but in Sierra chart, you have all those studies you can put in. So I have what we call a spreadsheet formula.
okay. And it references, uh, it doesn't draw this line. It references the zigzag version of this line.
It draws it. Let me just take a screenshot of what actually. It's better if I show you what actually. Just one second.
So the
I'll put it.
spreadsheet, so the spreadsheet study while you're taking the screenshot, is the spreadsheet study referencing the Zigzag study at all?
Yes.
Zigzag or ZZ, just because that's more fun to
Yeah,
type.
it's yeah, it's sc.zigzag in ACSIL.
Okay, so
I put the
who is?
screenshot.
Oh, where is it? Encoding. Let's go over there. Open that up. Copy image. Paste.
Yeah, so that's what it actually looks like when it draws. So the green lines, that the stair step, yeah, and the purplish stair step for the lows.
So which one
And
is the L line?
so the L line would be the stair step lines at any point. I just picked a certain point to not make it confusing.
So this
So
this line right here is
is dynamic, is one of those. Yeah.
okay. So
In
this
this case, we're
screenshot and
going
this
down.
screenshot are
Yeah.
not related in any
No,
way.
no.
Okay, got it.
Different instrument.
Got it. Okay.
And so in this case, because we're going down, you'd be looking at the you can see the arrows in my where the entry is. Yeah. And so that's the break of that line, of that zigzag reversal price.
Is this a short and this was a long?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let's try to make things simpler.
Yeah, in its simplest form.
Who renders this L line? What is responsible for rendering this?
Yeah, so if you go to the other, yep. So that is the pivot low or high from the zigzag study that
Okay.
is held, that is persistently held until new pivot low or high is done.
Okay, let's pretend that we just have this. Is this L a pivot high?
Correct.
Okay, let's just work off of this because I think this is an more easily consumable example.
Right.
So this spreadsheet study is looking at the zigzag study and is at some point referencing a pivot high line, which is a subgraph, I'm assuming, in ZZ.
Yeah, in zigzag, yeah, it's the reversal price.
Okay, so that's a subgraph there, and you have this line available at time B. So if we have a timeline here, and this is time B, is this line available? Is L available at time B?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, so L is available.
Well, actually, that's not technically correct. L is available when price moves the reversal amount away from time B.
So it's not available.
B plus some delta T, yeah.
It's actually not available until there then.
No.
C.
No, it's available between. Do you see the pivot low? Yeah, it's available between B and C, so it's B plus some delta.
Gotcha. So let's just say it's available at C then.
Correct. We could say that.
Okay. And so when we appear at time C and time C is live, you now have access to this.
Correct.
And you want to save that because as time progresses forward, you will lose this. When does this get lost?
In fact, it technically, the way I put it in, it shouldn't, but I must be doing something. It must be the limitation of the studies in the spreadsheet studies. I lose it as soon as price gets close to B. As soon as it equals B on the second time it comes back.
Oh, look at what Tahir just wrote.
Oh, I didn't see.
He said, I've got this. This is what you're looking for. That sounds very ominous to hear. What? Can you jump on the mic and tell us what this is? And for those who are watching later, wondering what the hell I'm talking about, this is what was just posted in the chat. Tahir, do you have a mic on or available? If you're talking,
Just turn his mic on.
mic issue. Okay, we'll settle for interpretive dance. Or just type it out. I mean, hopefully,
Can you hear me, guys?
yeah. Hey,
Ah,
Yeah.
great. Okay, now this thing. Hey, so I wasn't fully listening to what you were saying, but I think you're looking for a zigzag um, indicator which has a persistent value, right? And
Yeah.
also it doesn't just update. So I had the same issue. Remember, Tundra, we went through this market structure indicator with you. You walked through it. We created this market structure thing, which had the same issue basically. I think this is what you want. So I have played around with that and created one where it sort of keeps all the highs and lows until we create a new one. So I've got, I don't know.
Awesome.
Yeah, so if have a look at it, I've got another version of this. See if it's actually what you need. But
that's cool.
Is it based on Zigzag or some other?
basically, it doesn't actually draw the zigzag itself, but what it does is it plots a line on the pivot highs and pivot lows. So instead of drawing a zigzag and connecting the zigzags together,
Yeah.
it just plots a line, which is the same thing really.
And
You
does
just-
it use the Zigzag as an input?
It uses the pivot as an. So I've got two versions. One of them is using pivot points as an input. The other one is using, which I have is price action. So it's making high. So based on if we create three lows, sorry, so if we create the three candle structure where we have the first candle as low as
Oh, from
is
last
above
week.
this. Yeah, I wasn't here last week, but from at one point we went through this together with you, Tundra.
I don't. Yeah, I vaguely remember some drawing
Yeah,
three candles.
yeah. So it's the other one is based on the candle structures, and that sort of the soon as we create a free candle structure, we establish a new low or a new high, and that keeps it. So what I also keep persist is the two most recent ones. So the reason is then I can say if we create higher highs and higher lows. So this was my main point, just to establish a trend based on higher highs and higher lows. So now I can actually do that. I can count higher highs and higher lows. But obviously it still doesn't work as good as the zigzag. It's not as neat as the zigzag indicator, but zigzag indicator repaints afterwards. So that's the issue with that. But with this, you can actually reuse it in real time.
Are you referencing this inside the code?
Sorry, what do you mean?
Are you
Why?
referencing zigzag inside, like
No.
sc.zigzag at all inside the code? It's just using pivot highs and lows, and you're using those.
Yeah. I haven't actually looked at how the zigzag actually. I mean, I did look at it, but it just looked a bit too complicated.
How are
for my brain.
you storing things persistently with a potential? Because you're storing just one pivot high or all of them?
No, I'm just storing the last two.
The last two, so there's a fixed
the-
number. Okay.
Yeah, so and I think I've got a version where it's storing three of them, but so also whenever we create a new one, the latest one gets stored in subgraph one, so we can always and that is also to establish, so we can use it basically as the most recent high or most recent pivot low gets stored in subgraph one, so we can use it in alert conditions.
Mm-hmm.
How are you defining pivot? Is it just like lower lows and
Yeah, it's basically
higher highs? Okay.
Yeah. But it works quite well. Like if you want to be very technical and at determining like highs and lows, but it's sometimes it's a bit too much. Like it picks up every single high and every single low, and it's just it
Too
gets a bit
noisy.
messy.
Yeah.
Yeah, too noisy.
Yeah, that's why I like the Zigzag, because it's based
Yeah,
on
it's
percent
quite. But I think it
change
can
in
be
price.
it can sort of we can play around with it and determine. So I can establish. So instead of because what it does is as soon as we have a free candle structure, it then establishes a high or a low. But we can actually say actually count, maybe we can use 3 or 4 candles. But then what happens is then we're delaying establishing a new high and low. So I haven't really. So I've sort of given up on it. Well, not given up, but I've stopped working on it. But it's still in development in that sense, but usable.
Okay.
Cool.
I'll share both of them with you, and then
All right.
what
Sounds
you
good.
like,
Thank you so much.
and
Yeah,
and we
thank
can
you.
have a feedback. Maybe we can go back to it, after we've established what the issue is and whatever. We can maybe come back to it and
If there's
ask,
enough coffee.
I mean, not today, not today. I mean, another day. I mean, whenever you're free, Tundra, it might be good to sort of take another fresh look at it after a while.
Thank you for offering that out. Let's see. Let's do a last call. We've been going for 45.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any last questions? I see somebody typing. Nolan says, I've done Zigzag in ACSIL, persistent values for the highs and lows. Use the Zigzag subgraph text labels, subgraph values, and can provide some example code later today. Awesome. Thanks, Nolan. I'm sure that will help some folks in here too to generate more
Thank you.
ideas. Any other questions? Got someone typing here. Hey, Chris. Do you ever do a benchmark between time and sales data and volume by price container when it comes to real-time data? Let me reread that question. Have I ever done a benchmark between the time and sales data and the volume by price data when it comes to real-time data in regards to speed? You mean speed of population of those arrays? Is that what you mean? Like which one's faster to populate? No, I have not. Let me write this out. Which populates faster? Time and sales data structure or volume by price data structure? So my understanding is that, let's just draw it out. We have data, this is a data feed, and it's coming over the internet to our machine. Our Sierra chart instance, right? Or we can say my Sierra chart. And depending on what you have your store time, I forgot the variable name. It's like time storage unit or whatever. Most of us have it set to in ticks, down to 1 tick, but you can set it to other things. But my understanding is that this has, so Sierra basically has a cache in memory, which is reading the data feed directly. This is, I think this comes directly into this cache. And then next, there is actually a file which sits on the hard disk, on the hard drive, and it's a file, and this is your like .scid file. And what happens is that inside, so this right here is what's inside of Sierra. All of this is existing inside of here, so this is an abstraction there. And what's happening is that you're getting stuff populated in here as data flows in. So this is going to be execution data. So we're talking about stuff like the time stamp, the execution price, the best bid and best offer at the time, the quantity or volumes involved, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's what each row of information that's coming in from the data feed is providing, obviously symbol and other metadata. So it's coming in here and filling up this cache. At some period, some interval, this cache is flushed out to this SCID file. This does not happen on a per record basis. That would be inefficient. It would be happening at some time interval when the cache is probably getting full, or after some time interval, and we're talking probably milliseconds here, but enough so that it's not just every single one execution is getting written to this SCID file. The things that I don't know are the time and sales structure. I believe is coming from this cache. I do not believe it is coming from this intraday file. I believe this is fetching directly from here. And the reason I think that is because this data is not available in replay, and this cache is not available in replay. This data has a limit to the number of elements that are available in it, and it's a queue that gets bumped after a certain amount of elements have populated it, as is this, but not this. So that's why I think this time and sales structure is basically a reference directly somehow into the cache here. I'm making assumptions here. I don't actually know how the internal wiring is working. So that's why I think that this is coming from this. The volume by price data structure, I don't know. I don't actually know, Chris, if it's coming from the cache or from here. I'm going to assume that this is coming from here. Why? Because we can rebuild this going back any amount of time pretty much, right? This is, you can build volume by price data going back way beyond the limits of the time and sales data structure and the cache. So I'm assuming that VBP is reading or using an interpreted read from the actual file on the hard drive. So I would say, if I had to make an educated guess, I would say the time and sales data is faster. That's a guess, and I don't know. I would put my money on this horse right here. Cha says, I've benchmarked time and sales data before, and from my calculations, I'm getting trades 100 milliseconds after they're time stamped, and that was just 1 day long intraday chart. No studies, just simple grabbing time and sales and ACSIL, comparing the timestamp to the earliest. Okay. So I think all of our mileage may vary. Some of us are closer to the data feed, some of us live overseas, some of us have fast internet connections, some of us are using dial-up. There's a lot of variables that go into there, but in terms of which of these structures is populated more quickly, yeah, I'm gonna go with this one. Good, interesting question there. Okay, let's do one more question and then head out. Last question. Anybody?
If no one has one, I can
Say
give
again?
you an invite one. If no one has a question, I can provide.
Yeah, go for it.
One thing I was always interested in, and it's volume profile edges.
Hmm.
as a support resistance. And I know that VP container is a little different.
I
Sometimes
lost you there. You said the VP
yeah,
container is.
is maybe doesn't have as much data as, or it's very, I guess Sierra is very protective about that volume by price data.
No, they
It's
recently exposed. There's a function. I think it's called like volume bars for price or something similar to this.
okay.
Let me look it up actually. ACSIL. I think it's in the variables section. Volume bars. No, that's not it. Maybe it's a function. Functions. Volume bars. Nope, not there either. ACSIL. Volume bars. Volume at price bars. Maybe that's what it's called. Volume at price bars. I'm looking on the documentation, just trying to find it here on a different monitor. Volume at price for bars. I thought I searched for that. Let me try again. Volume at price for bars. There she is. Boom. Link. Copy link address. This. Oh, geez. Well, volume sc dot volume at price for bars. Here's the document. Here's the link for that.
Yep. Okay.
This is ridiculous looking. I'm just going to delete it from here, but you can Google search it, anybody who's looking for this. This exposes to you the data for, actually, this is an interesting question. So if you have, let's say that these are chart bars, right? And let's say you have, let's do our 3 model. Let's say we're going down right now. And let's say this is index 0, index 1, and index 2. So bar 0, 1, and 2. So we're on the leftmost edge of the chart, if you will. Or it's just a 3-bar chart. What this does is it gives you each volume node and information about that node at each tick within these bars. So let's say, let me make my size of text smaller. Let's say 10 contracts traded here, and let's say 20 traded here, and let's say 100 traded there, and so on and so forth. I won't draw them all out. But this function will let you say, hey, I want to see inside of bar 0. Okay, I'm in bar 0. Now what? Well, inside of bar 0, you have all these different price levels. This is index 1, 2, 3, etc. going, I think it's down to up actually. I think it's reverse. I don't think it starts at the top. I think it starts at the bottom. Let's pretend this is a short one just so I don't have to draw all those levels. I think this is the 0th element, 1, 2, 3, like that. Okay, and then let's say this one is really small, 5 or something. So this is the volume at each price level, and these are the intra-bar indexes of bar 0, represented by ticks. So this would be the lowest tick within bar 0 is index 0 of bar 0. Index 1 is the next tick higher, represented by index 1 of bar 0. The next tick higher is index 2 of bar 1. This structure is exposed to you here. And once you get, you can retrieve one of these squares, and you can retrieve them iteratively. Like you can loop through them and go boop, 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 or boop, 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 whichever you prefer. And you can say, okay, I've grabbed this one. Let's pretend we grabbed it. And you can say, give me the price. You can say, give me the volume. You can say, give me I don't remember all the things that are in there. But basically, price and volume are the most important ones, I think. So you can use that and then build studies off of analyzing inside of bar volume patterns. So that's how that works. It's actually really neat. So yes, they do expose it. They do expose to you the data that's in there, but I don't think they expose how it all is built. But yeah, you can get at this.
Okay, we'll give it a try. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Ken Gaspacho asks, can price data such as open, high, low, close, or tick data be pulled instantly from Sierra and written to a database? So that is kind of returning back to Chris's question about how does market data populate into Sierra. Um, you To accomplish what you're saying, Gaspacho, you'd want to go at this intraday file and you'd want to read it, and then you would want to export it to your database. I mean, there's multiple steps involved in what. So the question is, can price data be read from Sierra chart and written to a database? And the answer is yes, because you can take the SID file, you can read the records from it, and then you can take that and export it to flat file or any other adapter you build, such as to a DB. So like if you want to build out your own, I don't know, MySQL adapter or something, just don't redistribute it because that's illegal. There you go. There's pretty big repercussions for redistributing that. But assuming this is all for educational purposes on your own, calculating your own data, then yeah, that's how you would do it. You would take that intraday file, read the records from it, and then I actually have an example of this. I think it's is it the PESA tape study? I think shows how to do this piece of it right here. So if you need to see how to do that, you can just reference that. Oh, someone else posted a GitHub here, Taylor. So yeah, Cha is saying that someone else posted some example code. You can find the examples of how to do this, Googling around or in here. And then you would just need to build some kind of adapter to your target database or to the flat file. Or you could put it to another flat file in a different format, and then you could use some other script to move it to a database. Like a lot of you are Python coders, so maybe that'll be easier than coding the adapter in C++. Okay, I'll take your follow-up question on that, and then I think we'll call it. So, if you have a mic, you can jump on as well. I am doing it with TD Ameritrade API and Python, but 1 minute late data. I'm doing it with TD Ameritrade and Python, but it's, oh, so it's delayed data. Yeah, there you go. So you already have a Python script that's connecting to your database. So what you could do is you could use that same Python script. You could basically use Sierra chart to export it in a non-encrypted format and then send it to your Python script to dump it into your, or push it into your database. Right? Yep. Cool. All right, guys and gals. Thank you for joining. Wish you a good rest of your Friday and a happy weekend. And we will catch you next time. Let's go ahead and kill this stream.